Good morning, my dear students. I hope you all are doing well. So, in the last class of our general English, I think we completed two chapters, isn't it? We completed the first chapter, that is from the prose, that is the Portrait of a Lady by Khushwant Singh, and we did complete one more poem also, that is a photograph. So, two chapters are completed. Now, coming to the next, that is from the prose section, the second prose, all right, that you will be having in your course is Landscape of the Soul by Nathalie Troveroy. All right, so it is in number 4. All right, in the content part, this chapter, that is from the prose, you will be having it in chapter number 4. So, Landscape of the Soul. Now, the writer in this chapter showcases two different kinds of painting. All right, or you can say that here the writer shows two different kinds of art. That is, first is Chinese painting and the second is European painting. All right, or you can say Chinese art with European art. All right, so now basically what you will see here is that whatever the differences are being shown, all right, whatever is being shown and whatever points are being put here in this chapter, it's based on paintings only. All right, that is, what kind of Chinese painting do we see and what kinds of European painting do we experience. All right, so both the arts are being shown in terms of their paintings. All right, now here the writer clearly shows the difference between both the arts. All right, now when we talk about Chinese painting, all right, when we talk about Chinese art, it is all about imagination. All right, it is all about experiencing spirituality. It is all about experiencing inner viewpoint. Like, there is a difference between outer viewpoint and inner viewpoint. So whenever you see a piece of painting, all right, in Chinese painting, then a Chinese painter normally wants an observer to view his painting from the eyes of the creator. For an example, if suppose I am the observer, all right, and if I see a painting which is drawn by a Chinese painter, then that Chinese painter would want me to look at that painting from his point of view, from his imagination, from his eyes. Why? So that I can actually and genuinely enjoy that piece of painting from the point of view that he enjoys. All right, from the point of view that he looks at it. All right, so Chinese painting is all about imagination. It is all about spirituality. It's spirituality in terms of like understanding and realizing the essence of that painting. All right, not just simply from the outer appearance you are praising that piece of painting, but it is about knowing the depth of reality. It is about knowing the true essence of that piece of painting that painter has created. All right, so that is about Chinese paintings. Now coming back to the European painting or European art. European art is just simple as normally we see a piece of painting just through the external senses. All right, that is from just a kind of real object. So what does an European painter do? He or she will be painting a piece of painting as a real object. All right, just as a view of external object. There is no spirituality or no, imagination that is ingrained in European paintings. All right, it just showcases a real object. It tries to portray a real object, an external object as it appears. So we come to know that in this chapter the writer shows difference between Chinese art with that of European art. All right, so now you please do one thing. Please take out page number 34, that is Landscape of the Soul by Nathalie Troveroy. Now before the start of this chapter, you will see again here some expressions, all right, which are very important, and while going through the story also we will come across with these expressions. All right, so let's see what does these expressions mean. First one is anecdote. Now what do you mean by an anecdote? As we discussed earlier about figures of speech, isn't it? So in figures of speech only we will find anecdote too. All right, so other figures of speech that we have learned are, there is simile, metaphor, personification, refrain, repetition. All right, so these are the few figures of speech that we studied earlier, but I think I didn't tell you about anecdote. All right, so since it is there in your course, so I have to make it explain to you. So anecdote, what do you mean by anecdote is that when you give a short or a brief description, a brief account of a particular incident, that is called anecdote. You don't give description in full-fledged way, in explanation way, not in explanation way, but you just give a short account of an incident, that is called anecdote. Next you have delicate realism. All right, now realism, what does realism mean? You must be knowing that is real thing. Realism means which is real, which is a fact. Now it is said here as delicate. Now realism here, it says in terms of art. All right, that realism here, it refers to art. Now what happens that you can relate this term, this expression with that is Chinese painting. All right, or in European painting also, European art also, you will see this. So what it says is that it is the quality of art which makes an abstract thing appear real. All right, I don't know whether you are able to understand this line or not. In simple term, if you try to understand it, it means quality of art. See, art has got the quality to make a fiction appear into a fact. Now you must be knowing the difference between fact and fiction. So fact means based on reality, and fiction means imaginary, which is not real. All right, which is you are making a story out of your imagination, that is, which is not based on a real story, that is called fiction. All right, so that difference, that is the difference between fact and fiction. All right, so making a fiction appear a fact, only art can do that. Art has got the quality to make a fiction appear as a fact, appear as a reality. So that is called delicate realism. Next, see, third point given here is figurative painting. All right, so figurative painting, so this expression, you will see that a Chinese painter normally wants figurative painting from his observers. All right, that means a Chinese painter wants an observer to see a piece of painting from his point of view, that is from the painter's point of view, so that we, that is the viewers, can genuinely enjoy and see the essence of that painting based on which the painter had created. Alright, so that is called figurative painting. So it is a representation of a piece of art, where a painter wants that the observer or the viewer sees it, or looks at it from his point of view. Alright, so that is called figurative painting. Or if not point of view, you can say from the imaginatory level, imagination part, from imagination of the creator. Now who is the creator here? That is the painter who has created that painting. That is the creator. Alright, so the creator who has created that piece of art or painting, the creator wants the observer to look at it from his point of view. Alright, so that is called figurative painting. Next, see illusionistic likeness. Now you must be knowing about illusion. Illusion means mirage. You must have got in class 9 or 10 in your science subject. So what is a mirage? Mirage is basically an illusion. In Hindi it's called bhram, alright, which is not real, alright, but from distance it appears as if it is real, but when you go near a certain thing which appears to be real from distance, but when you go near that thing, it becomes fake. Alright, it is not supposed to be real. So illusionistic, that is called illusion. Alright, that is bhram, which to be said so in Hindi term. Alright, so illusion normally that is again that is the reality which appears to be real from distance, but in real it is not real, whereas it is an illusion. Alright, so that is called illusionistic likeness. Next see, that is conceptual space. Alright, conceptual space here refers to the space, alright, that is the point of difference between the, in simple term we can say fact and fiction. Alright, so it means the abstract difference between the abstract and factual description. Abstract is based on only theoretical beliefs. Alright, it is based on only theory, but the one which is conceptual, the one which is factual, that is based on reality. Alright, so that is called the conceptual space. That is the difference between the abstract and factual. So in this chapter you will see here in the first paragraph the writer has shown, the writer has given a story of Chinese art. Alright, so you will see here two different kinds of story. One story which is based on Chinese art and the other story which is based on European art. So through this difference the writer has the writer has tried to show the differences that exist in arts catering to different cultures and traditions. Alright, because Chinese painting, that means what? China has also got its own culture, its own tradition. Similarly European, that means Europe. Alright, so it has also got its own culture and tradition. So that has been the writer has tried to show in terms of paintings. Alright, so what kind of culture and tradition we can see through their art form. So that is what the writer has shown in this story. So I guess since the time is almost over now, so we shall start the story from the next class. All right, so I hope till here it's all clear to you. Please try to get through these expressions again. All right, if you have got any difficulty, you can ask me later. All right, and we shall continue this chapter in our next class. So for today, all of you please take care and have a great day ahead. Thank you so much.